Okay, so we're going to start off with talking about limits. And so let's start with a function that's pretty straightforward. Simply x squared. Okay. And one thing that we're going to be interested in is what is going on with the function near 1. So what happens near x equals 1? All right. So there's two things that I'm going to do. The first thing is going to be a table. And the second thing is going to be a graph. All right, so let's take a look at a table. So I'm going to do x and x squared. And I want things near 1. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take and this is pretty common. So I've ordered from smaller to larger. So this is 0.001 less than 1, 0.01 less than 1, 0.1 less than 1, and the same 3, but just a little bit bigger than 1. And then we're going to put this into a computer or calculator. In a separate video, I'm going to show you how to do this in a nice program, how to do this. But right now, just pull out the calculator or the calculator app on your phone and go for it. So 98001. Sorry. 9801 99801. If I plug in 1, I get 1. Right? 1.00201, 1.0201, 1.21. Okay. Now in this case, since we can actually take the number 1 and plug it in and just get 1, what's going on near 1 is it's just the function value is 1. Right? So function is 1. Okay. Remember, this is like, if you think about functions, these are heights on a graph. I'll do a graph over here. So these are x values and these are y values. So what I'm interested in is what is the y value. Okay, let's take a look at a graph. Hopefully you remember the graph of this looks like this. 1, 2, 4. And this is the important stuff over here. But right in this area, and again, we're going to do a, on the computer, right, it looks like it's 1. So x value is 1, y value is 1. Okay, so that seems to be that. Now I'm going to do another little one. A little more complicated. And I also want to know what's going on with this near 1. So what happens near x equals 1? I'm going to do a table of values again. Since I'm still doing 1, I'm going to choose the same x values. All right, and let me bring up my table. of y values Okay, so again, plug into a calculator and see what you get there. When you plug in 1, I get 1 squared, is 1 minus 1 is 0 over 0. And since you can't divide by 0, I'm going to say does not exist, DNE, and I get that. And if I check the last 3, I get those. Okay. And in this case, so what does it appear? Appears to be 2. Okay, this is my y value, which is just 2. Okay. Let's look at a graph. Okay. Now, this is where this is fairly complicated. This isn't one of these sort of standard things that you should know how to do, although it's actually really just a line. I put a hole there because, again, when I plug in x equals 1, it's not defined. So that's not part of the domain, so I leave that open. And everywhere else actually is a line. Again, I'll show you in another video using some graphing calculator, but if you're kind of careful with it, you could probably do it too, a couple of different ways, but plotting these points, for example. Okay, now important is for near 1, right, the y value seems to be near 2. Okay, and now near is important because there is no value when x equals 1 because it's undefined. But it looks like just from the table or looks like from the graph, you get 2. All right, now we're going to have a little bit of a more technical way of talking about this. Function values near x equals c are called limits. Okay? And the way we're going to write this is L is the limit So L are my function values. The limit as x goes to c means this is the c is the nearby points of my function. Okay, so the two examples that we did, we had lim of x goes to 1 of the first one of x squared was 1. And then we also said lim of x equals 1. And this doesn't have to be 1. I've just chosen two functions where I wanted to know what happened. And this limit is 2. Okay, so these two numbers are the function values or the y values, and they're the limits. Okay, so this is just really quick little introduction to it. So again with this, if we're given a function and we're given some value c, what you would do is you could build up a table of values or do a graph and see if you can estimate it. So that's the idea with this, is finding like approximations or estimates of these things. And eventually, a little bit later, we'll talk about how to do this more algebraically or more precisely.